Okay, y'all, so we're going to talk about circles today, specifically the ideas of radius, diameter, and circumference. We're also going to talk about the term origin, but that's used to get to radius and diameter. So, first thing, parts of a circle. This is the origin. It's also called the center, but usually we call it the origin, just so we have a consistent vocabulary. The radius is the distance from that origin to the outside of the circle. It can be in any kind of unit, inches, centimeters, meters, kilometers, whatever, but this is what's called the radius. Okay? The diameter is like the radius, but it's just twice as long. The diameter is the distance from the outside of the circle to the other side of the circle that passes through the origin. It needs to go through the center to be considered the diameter. That's a pretty important detail. Okay? Now, theoretically, going back to radius for a second, radius was half the distance across a circle. Diameter is the full distance across a circle. So, theoretically, there are two radii or two radiuses in one diameter. You can find that diameter by multiplying the radius by 2, and we'll handle that later. The circumference is the distance around a circle. It doesn't matter which direction you go, but it's the total distance from one point along the circle all the way around it, and meeting back at that same point. It's related to diameter, and we're going to talk about that in a second. So, in order to talk about any of these terms, we need to start thinking about this thing called pi, which you've probably heard about on Pi Day, March 14th. But pi is a very special thing. The Greek philosophers, mathematicians, kind of discovered pi, invented pi, whatever you want to call it. Let's take this again. This is the proof of why pi is the way it is. We have a circle with a diameter of 1 inch. It could be 1 centimeter, 1 meter, but as long as the diameter is 1 something, this is the proof. If we take that circle and we pretend there's an imaginary point right at the bottom here that we're going to kind of trace, and we just start rolling that circle all the way until it goes one full rotation around. That distance is about 3.14 inches, give or take. And it keeps going. There's a bunch of numbers after that 4, but it rounds off to 3.14 inches, and that's what we call pi. Again, that distance all the way across, if we rolled that circle, would be 3.14 inches. What the Greeks determined is that they can call this thing something special. They called it pi, which is a Greek letter. Pi is a mathematical constant that equals the distance around a circle with a diameter of 1 unit. It could be 1 inch, again, 1 centimeter, 1 unit, whatever. This is roughly equal to 3.14 of those units. In this case, we're talking about inches. So we can use that to find what's called circumference. And we're going to use it for area too. But for right now, we're just going to talk about circumference. We can use pi to find the circumference by doing the following. We just proved that if a circle has a diameter of 1 inch, the distance around that circle, meaning the circumference, is equal to 3.14 inches. So, theoretically, the circumference, the distance around the circle, is equal to the diameter times 3.14. If the distance across is 1, that's 1 times 3.14. So 3.14. We also could use a separate formula. We could use diameter times pi, or 2 times the radius times pi. Because there's 2 radii in one diameter, we can multiply the radius times 2 to get the diameter, and then multiply that by pi. I like going with the first one. It's more consistent, and it's less confusing with the area version. Okay, so let's say we have a circle with a diameter. That means distance all the way across, passing through the middle, of 5 centimeters. We want to find the circumference. We take our formula. Circumference equals diameter times pi. We just plug in that 5 into the diameter. Now we have 5 centimeters times pi. We know pi is roughly equal to 3.14. You just got to memorize that one. It's the way it is. And we just do a quick multiplication, and we get 15.70 centimeters, or just 15.7 centimeters. Cool? Not that hard. But what if you're only given the radius? The radius is 5 centimeters here. That means the diameter logically has to be 10, because there's 2 radii in one diameter. I'll do that again. If the radius is 5, that means the diameter is twice as long, which makes it 10. Okay? Follow me here. So now the circumference formula is diameter times pi. So we use that diameter number, 10, times pi, which is 3.14, quick multiplication, and we get 31.4 centimeters. Notice I did not use the radius number here. I did not use it. I used the radius to find the diameter, but that's about all I needed it for. I'm not going to multiply the radius times pi. That doesn't make any sense. I wouldn't do that. Okay, so that's how we're going to find circumference using both radius and diameter. Again, those key terms you need. Origin is the center. Radius is the distance from the center to the outside. Diameter is the full distance across that goes through that origin. And we find the circumference, the distance around the circle, by doing diameter times pi. Hope that helps. Thanks.